welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Today I'm finally getting to work on the base for my Ravens Perch house. Now this is my Petite Properties 1/48 scale house that you may have seen in some of my other videos, and I'll link the playlist in the iCard and in the description box below. Now I've had this kit for a while, and because it's a bit more involved than the house, I've actually put it off. So I've got my kit, I've got my instructions, it's time to get going. Obviously with any kit, the first thing you do is sort out your pieces. Now what I've done is I've put aside the smaller pieces that are more relevant to later on in the build, and I've just kept out the pieces that actually form the basis of the structure. So I've got 6 pieces that actually go in between these, and then these 3 pieces that are the bulk of the structure. As you can see, there's holes through this because I believe this is so you can light your house. I haven't lit this house. I have enough problems with electrics in 1/12 scale without indulging in 1/48 scale yet. Now I'm going to start off with this, which is the very bottom piece, and I'll put the others aside. And I need these 4 pieces which fit into the base. I think I've got that right. They need to be glued in place, and because I'm working with MDF at the moment, I'm going to be using some wood glue. I've got my Gorilla wood glue, and I'm going to stick these pieces into place, and then they will get left for quite some time because wood glue takes a lot longer to cure than my normal glue. So with that in mind, I'm going to stop you for a moment and do battle with the wood glue bottle. With this first lot of supports in place, and admittedly not completely dry, but certainly dry enough that they're not going anywhere, the next stage is to stick on the next level. And to do that, I'm going to take some more wood glue, and I'm going to liberally apply it. Now all of this is actually going to be covered up in due course with the finishing materials, so I'm not actually too concerned about not getting glue everywhere because I get to hide it, but I do want it to be well stuck. And that is about right, I think. So I take the next piece and I'm going to stick this on top, and this one's to go somewhere like this. Now I think I'm going to have to put something heavy on top of this just to make sure that it all stays together, but this is now the bulk of the base constructed. Now while I'm waiting for the rest of it to cure, I'm going to put this bit together. Now it starts off with, I've got 2 pieces here that I've got to glue together. So I need to put a bit of glue into the slot on one of them, and I need to put the other one inside so I get a nice cross piece. Now this is going to be glued onto here, and if I've got it right, something like this. So I'm going to apply the glue to one side and then stick it into place. So I'm just going to put this into place, and looking at the instructions, it needs to go something like that. Now this piece will get stuck onto the piece that I attached in the last stage. Again, there'll be more glue put on here, and then this will be put on top of that, and I will be doing that once I'm certain that that is stuck down enough, and at that point I think I will then leave it probably overnight to make sure that everything is securely dried. As keen as I am to actually get started on the more interesting bits, I just wanted to give you a quick view of this. I have attached the third piece onto the previous two, and this is now the base structure of the Ravens Perch Base. It looks rather weird, but it's all got to be filled in. So I'll just give you a slight sidewards on look, and then I'm going to put a nice book or something on the top of this, and as I said, I think I'm going to leave this overnight so that everything's got a chance to set up properly, and then I can look at adding the actual structure for the landscaping. Now, before I start applying the filler, which is going to make up the structure of my base, I have got another couple of bits that I need to put together. I've got a set of steps, and I've also got the gate post. Well, they're the walls that form the gate post, and I'm going to just stick these together now. I'm using the wood glue again because I'm not going to be sticking these in place until such time as I'm done with the landscaping. So I've got plenty of time for it to cure. And what I've got to do is I've got to line these up at the back and sides to start to form my steps. I've got a little bit on there, so I'll just wipe that off, and I'll put that pair down, and I'll do the next one. These are going to make the steps that go up to the front porch, and then I've got to put in a sort of slope up to the bottom of the steps. It's going to be an interesting task, and I'm really having some trouble with this today. I'll wipe that glue off in a minute. I'm just going to put the last one on. Like so. So there I have my basic set of steps. And this is starting to pull together. Now if I just find another cocktail stick, because I can't see a clean one around here, and I can just take this off, and that's the basis of my steps. Just slid that one again. Not doing very good with this at the moment. I need to find something to clamp it maybe, but there's my basic steps. Now once these are holding, I will be taking the side pieces and sticking those on like so. It's you know, pretty basic step design. So those are the steps. The gate, I don't know what you'd call them. They're sort of gate posts, but they're walls. They consist of a wall piece for the front, a second piece that is attached at right angles, which helps you hold it in place, and then a coping stone that goes on the top. So all I need to do with these, and there are two of them, is apply glue and stick this bit to the back of this bit. Now it's got to be at right angles and it's got to be flush to the bottom, but that's fairly straightforward. A little bit of extra glue to remove. And these can be, well, this bit can be set aside. Now the coping stone, you will actually just put that upright. Make sure that that is actually flush. It works. The coping stone is just going to go on the top, so I'm actually going to just pop a bit of glue on there and pop this bit on. Now I'm not attaching the gates yet because I don't know if I want the gates open or closed, and obviously that makes quite a bit of difference. So that's what my gate posts look like. The other one will be the other way obviously, but yeah, they're going to look quite good, I think. The next bit that I've got to do is to fill in these gaps between the layers. Now the suggestion is to use newspaper, and I am going to try that on this bigger gap down here, but I think I'm going to try and use some little bits of foil under here. It's a bit of an experiment. I'm going to see how I get on. I've also got to try and form a bit of a swooping path down here, so I need to build this bit up at the front because my path's going to be there, my steps are going to be there rather, my gates are going to be down there, and that's quite a what's it between them, so I've got to try and figure out how I'm going to do that. So I think it's going to be ripping up some paper, some old newspaper, sticking that in place and adding some foil and seeing how it all comes together. Now I have put in all my filling pieces, my paper, and I'm now going to start adding the actual decorator's filler. Now this is a powdered filler that I've used, and I don't know if it's the right consistency yet. I'm trying to get it so it's sort of malleable, but so that I can actually do something with it. So I'm going to start applying this. I'm going to do it off camera because I don't want everything covered in it, and I will come back to you once I'm done. Now I have applied a generous coat of filler to my entire base. I've been trying to sort of shape it because I've got some details that have got to go on there and things like that. But beside that, I have just been sort of daubing it on. The advantage with this sort of filler is it is actually sandable. I could take this outside with some sandpaper and I can smooth off any bits that I don't like. The instructions told me to put as much texture in as I could. I've tried to do that, but I'm also aware that I need to put another coat on yet. I've got to put a coat over all of it, so all this bit's down here. I've done the bits around the house. Possibly a little bit along there so it'll blend the steps in. Maybe make the sort of path up to the steps a little bit less steep. Not sure yet. I'm looking at it. I'm going to wait for it to dry and then I'm going to reassess. I've just got to make a hole at the back where my tree is going to go. And take my tree out and make a mess everywhere with that. And then that's all I can do for today. I've just got to leave it, wait and see. I have done the filler. This is actually 2 coats and it's actually a full 2 days since I filmed anything. I put on the bulk coat, which was the shaping, and then left that to dry and added a second thinner coat over the top just to sort of join everything together, fill in any big cracks that I'd got. And this is the result. Now I'm going to lift it a bit so that you can see. I'm actually struggling with this and my camera stand. But you can see I've now got something that looks like a badly iced cake. The entire idea was that I needed to leave texture, and whilst that was sort of against the grain for me, I did leave quite a bit so that I've got a nice bit of texture on there for when I start adding stuff, and I've got lots of little loose bits that I keep picking off. I'm going to start preparing this for the actual landscaping bits, and I'm going to begin by giving it a coat of Mod Podge. This is actually a mixture of matte Mod Podge, as the bottle says, and black acrylic paint. Now this is an idea that I got from Black Magic Crafts here on YouTube, and like a lot of people, I use this for a base layer when I want something that will actually sort of seal and colour, 2 in 1. So I'm going to put this on and see how it goes. The house fits nicely. I have tried it. I was very careful not to overlap the lines that I'd drawn for the positioning of the house too much. Obviously that's going to have to be put in place before I can put the last bits of landscaping around the property. But in the meantime, it's painting, so I think I'm just going to put some on and spread it around. And to be fair, you don't really want to watch me painting, I would imagine, and getting angry at the brush catching on bits and pulling bits off and stuff like that. So I'm going to end this for a minute and I'll come back when it's done. The base has been painted with the black Mod Podge, and it is now dry and it is nice and hard. This means it's not peeling bits of the filler off every time I look at it, which is a relief because I don't like the mess that it makes, going to be honest. While I've been waiting for that to dry, I have been painting other bits. Steps are ready to be fitted in. The gate posts. I've also done the gates. There are two of them, the one's just out of shot a bit, and the two bits of fence that are included. I'm not sure at this stage if I'm going to include the gravestones, any of the gravestones, all of the gravestones that come in the kit, because you're supposed to have an area of gravestones to make it look spookier. I'm not sure, so I haven't done anything with them yet, but they are just out of shot on my desk along with a lot of other stuff. The next thing I've got to start on is applying the landscaping medium. Now, this is sometimes called flocking, and I've got two pots with it in, reusing pots. I've got green, which is obviously the main colour, and I do hope I've got enough. Shouldn't actually have to put it on too thick, but we will find out. And then I've got a sand, which is to make my path. It's a bit orange, but if I really don't like it, I will paint over it with some coloured Mod Podge. I will add a bit of paint to some Mod Podge and I will change the colour a bit. So I'm going to start off with this, so I'm just going to clear the desk a bit so I don't get I don't get sand on everything, and then we will start applying. Now I have cleared off the bits that I've painted and I'm ready to give putting some of this sand down a go. Now I'm going to put it obviously down the slope that I've created. Not the best path in the world, but it's an old haunted house. Does it really matter that much? And down to the bottom. Now I've marked where the gate posts are going to have to go, because I am going to need to do some stuff around them. So I'm just going to start off, I think, at the top of the slope. That's the word I'm looking for. Now I'm just using ordinary PVA glue for this, and that has gone everywhere. What am I like? I'll just wipe that off there with a bit of tissue, and I'm just going to put some up here. Now I've never worked with proper landscaping materials before. I've only ever used well, bits of crushed up moss. I will be using some moss for this, it must be said. I wasn't buying the larger pieces of stuff to make sort of plants. I went for thinking I've got a bag of moss, I can work that myself. Or I've used tea leaves for soil. So what I'm going to do, moment of truth and a terrible noise, I do apologise, is I'm going to sprinkle some of this sand material. It is sand actually, feeling it. And I'm just going to sprinkle this. Now I'm working on my non-stick craft mat. Well, it's not a non-stick craft mat. I may have mentioned before, this is actually a oven liner or a baking sheet liner that you can pick up from, I pick them up from the pound shop and I cut them into pieces and I use it for working on. It works almost as well as the proper expensive non-stick craft mats and costs a fraction of the price. I don't like spending money unnecessarily. I'm going to give this a tap and okay, I've got the startings of a path. I'm going to carry on with this, work down the path, down the slope rather, with my path, and carry on. I've just knocked some of that off. Oh well, we'll cover it up. These things happen, especially when you're not paying attention. And I'll see how it goes. It is, as I say, a bit orange. I may alter the colour. I'm not sure. Really not sure. Now I'm going to come right out and say it. This is a project that is evolving in front of my eyes, and certainly it's going to be evolving during the course of me filming this. When I started doing the landscaping, I had a vague idea of what I wanted to do, but it has taken on a complete life of its own. And I've realised that I actually like the fact that some of this looks quite rocky. So I'm going to have a go at turning some of it into stone, so it looks like this is on sort of a rocky outcrop maybe. Now I'm going to paint the stone, and I may make some rocks out of some air dried clay and stick them into position. I want a sort of grey-green colour for the stone, and I'm going to start trying to make something up using some sage green paint and some grey paint, maybe a bit of black, and see how it goes. I don't know if this is going to work. I think I've got an idea now of what I want to do, but only time will tell whether it is going to do what I want it to do. I've had a go at creating a rock, as you can see. I actually decided, just as I was about to start filming this, that I needed to increase the size of this bit here. So there's some wet paint there. The rest of it I've actually given a bit of a dry brushing. I used the grey and the green that I mixed to make the grey. I actually added a bit of black to that grey that I made to make it darker, because I wanted a darker colour to stand out against the colour of the house, which is that colour, and it does look different. I think it's going to work. I'm going to start on the green landscaping now, but before I do, I want to speak about my little bit of pathway. I wasn't too sure about it when I put it on. It is perhaps still a little bit more orange than I'd like, but I think it's workable. It's actually dried quite a bit darker with the glue in amongst it. Now there's a couple of places where I may add a bit more. I don't know. I quite like the fact that it looks a bit sort of worn and not exactly well maintained. So I may see how it looks once I've started to add the green. Pretty much everywhere where it's still black, I'm going to add green. I do want green down most of the side. I don't want it to look like it's on, you know, a complete rocky pinnacle, but I do want to suggest that it's on a rocky outcrop. So I've got rock colour all round the rear there. And I think I'm going to be adding some more colour to that as I go, depending what takes my fancy. So it's on to the green. I'm going to be doing that the same way as I did the sandy material. I'm going to add some PVA glue, just ordinary PVA glue, white glue, school glue, whatever you like to call it, and yeah, start turning this green. The flocking, the green stuff, is all on. Now I've given it a bit of a shake off to get rid of any obviously loose, but I need to fix it. Now, I didn't realise this, that there is actually a specific recipe for fixing it, but I had a look on the internet, and according to the railway modellers who use this stuff a lot, this is what I needed. So I've got a spray bottle here, and this has got half and half white PVA glue and water with just a drop of dishwashing detergent. The stuff you use for washing your plates by hand, which helps to break up the surface tension. And I've got to spray this over all of the sit, and I think I'm going to get myself a cloth to wipe everything up, and basically then I've got to let it dry again, and this should seal it and stop any more from rubbing off. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to have a look at the extra bits that have got to go on this piece. While the sealer was drying on my flocking, I have spent a little bit of time finishing off the extra pieces, and I've got them all here. I've got my fence, which has decided to bend that way, and so the better side is actually on the inside, so I might have to put a bit more distressing on that. My gate posts, my gates, some gravestones. I think I'm going to include these gravestones, not sure, not 100%, and of course my steps. Now, as I said, I dry fitted everything yesterday, just to see what it looked like, and I'm going to put a sneak peek up over on my Facebook page. So if you are a member of the Gothic Unicorn Facebook page, you'll get to see a sneak peek of what it's sort of looking like. I'm going to move these out of the way, move that bit out of the way without ruining everything, and I'm going to move this forward. Now, I think it's all dried. It's gone somewhat darker, which is kind of cool. I like it. And I'm going to start attaching the extra things. I'm going to start with the gate posts, and you may be able to see that I've actually left spaces for these because I needed them to fit with the gates, so it looked realistic. And so I left some marks where I could then attach them. And I think I'm going to have to sit here and hold this for a while. I am going to attach these bits, the gate posts, the gates, the fence, and then I'm probably going to call this done for now, because the video is getting rather long, and I can't really finish off all the extra bits I want to do. I want to put some extra foliage, which I'm just going to use some moss for, but I want to put that up against the house, and I can't do that until the house is in situ. Now, if you've noticed, well, that's not, I've got a little bit that's sort of sandy at the back here. That is going to be where my imaginary stairs are, because the house doesn't work. There are no stairs inside, and with it being open at the back, there's nowhere to pretend they are. So I'm just going to pretend that off the kitchen is a little set of steps in the corner, another little tower that goes up to the 3 floors. May work, may not work, but in my head it'll make sense of the building. And you know, I'm really pleased with how this has come out. Well, how it's coming out. So I'm going to go and I'm going to spend some time gluing a few bits, and then I'll give you all a look at the kind of almost completed base. So here we have my Ravens Perch Base by Petite Properties. It's ready for the house to go on. The stairs aren't stuck in place because they have to be stuck to the base and the house. And as I said, I don't want to put the house on, attach it on, until it's actually completed, because there's quite a bit of manoeuvring to do with the base attached, and I don't want to risk any of the pieces that sort of stick out like my fences, which I do like how they look. Now I'm just going to tip this so that you can actually get a better look at the base. I've got my rusty gates. The rust is cinnamon. It is the simplest technique. It's glue and cinnamon. If you want it to look more deeper in colour, you can add some paint before you put the rust on of a suitably rusty colour. I've attached some gravestones. That reason will become clear. And then there's fence up the path, sort of driveway, and also at the back. I'm really pleased with how it's come together. I wasn't altogether convinced, I must admit, when I started adding filler and it looked a bit lumpy and bumpy, but by turning it into a rocky outcrop, I think it will work with the story that I've got in mind, and it sort of makes quite a nice piece. So it's done. I will be returning to this project very, very soon. I've got to finish the inside of the house. I've got some distressing work to do on the outside of the house, and then it's all going to be put together. And then of course I'm going to reveal my story. The story behind it, the reasoning for this looking the way that it does. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. And until next time, bye.